All right, we are about 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Katie Greifeld and Matt Miller in for Romaine Bosick. And here to help take us through the closing bell, we're joined by a global simulcast, Carol Massar and David Gura in for Tim Stenovic, bringing together all of our different audiences, glasses off for this moment. And Carol, it looks like we're going to finish just slightly in the green here.
Just slightly in the green, but we've been bouncing around a little bit, certainly in today's session. Again, I go to the semis, which we've often seen outperformance throughout 2025. As a whole, they're up about just shy of 3%. I'm going to get into some of the reasons why when I talk about some of my individual gainers.
I wonder what she's going to say.
What's
she going to say?
Well, I won't reveal. Carol talking about how the market's been bouncing around, looking at sort of how things are settling out at the end of the day here. Roughly half in the green, half in the red, but I think we're seeing this market that still is being driven by this roiling trade war that maybe has gone ignored or been less looked at, let's say, over these last few weeks. But that dynamic between the U.S. and China, I think, is something we're still following closely.
I think it's actually pretty surprising that it took us pretty much until Friday to realize that, wait, China said it's going to cut us off from pretty much all rare earth minerals. And, you know, we don't really have that many of those and desperately need them to make pretty much everything. So now we're paying a lot closer attention. Still, we're getting some really good news. Great earnings from the banks. We're getting continued multi-billion-dollar deals from super interconnected parties in AI. And that continues to drive up the Mag 7 or the Great 8, as Katie likes to call them.
That's true. And really, I mean, if you think about the index math here, that's all you need. But still, a more broad rally might quell some of these investor fears. But in any case, on the day, you can see the S&P 500 will finish in the green. We are bumping up against 6,700 on the S&P 500, not quite there. The Nasdaq also mightily in the green today, up about 0.7%. The Dow Jones didn't do anything. Let's just move right past that because the small caps had a pretty good day as well, Carol Massar. So the little guys also getting in on the big rally.
So formal. Yeah. Catherine Greifeld.
Thank you.
All right, S&P 500. Let's go back there to the big caps. Almost an even split. 251 to the upside, 252, Katie, to the downside.
All right, we do have some news. This from not a big bank. Some earnings coming from United Airlines. Third quarter adjusted EPS beating estimates here, coming in at $2.78. You take a look at the estimate for $2.66. That is a beat here. Then you take a look at some of the other numbers as well. Third quarter CapEx coming in at $1.46 billion, and operating revenue for the third quarter also coming in pretty much on expectations. Still waiting to see some of the guidance here, but at least when it comes to the look behind, Carol, it looks like we got good news coming out of United.
Yeah, stock bouncing around here in the aftermarket. Right now, down 1.5%. It was just up 1%. It's a stock that, if I look year to date, is up 7%. But, you know, go to something like revenue, passenger miles. Actually, let's go to the outlook because, Katie, you mentioned it, highlighted it. The company sees fourth quarter adjusted EPS of $3 a share to $3.50 a share. That, folks, is above what the street was looking for. They were looking for $2.82. So right now you're seeing investors saying, okay, folks, United, I like your outlook, and setting the stock up about 2.8%.
Yeah, absolutely. It does look like we're getting a kind of Delta Airlines set of earnings from United, and this may have to do with the fact that we are in somewhat of a K-shaped economy, right? Those who are doing well still want to travel, still want to buy tickets, and still need to fly premium economy because we want to be Group 1, right? So beating on the revenue in terms of the, or meeting on the revenue, I should say, in terms of $15.2 billion in the third quarter. On adjusted EPS beating, and then on the outlook beating as well, Carol, as you say, looking at for $3 to $3.50, and we were only looking for $2.82.
Matt, I'm glad you bring up that K-shaped economy because we got that beige book from the Federal Reserve earlier today, and that was really manifest in the comments that we got from those regional Fed banks. The fact that we're seeing that division that you're talking about among consumers. Yes, the anxiety and agita just about the uncertainty that lies ahead, but then you still see people who are spending on services, and that seems, and you look at these data here, seems to be a good thing for this airline in particular.
Also, just, you know, before I get into individual gainers, when you talk about spending, I mean, United talking about still on track, I think, to spend $1 billion this year in terms of improving the experience, product, and service, and then it expects to invest over $1 billion more in 2026. So
that is good news.
Yeah, right? They're spending. They feel upbeat. They're willing to do that. That is good news. And right now that stock is up 3% here in the aftermarket. All right, we'll continue to track for anything else after the market closes. close here. Let's go to some of the individual gainers in the regular session. I got to highlight, Matt, you knew I was going to do this, AMD, because chips once again outperforming. Thank you, Advanced Micro Devices. That stock up about 9% here. HSBC affirming a buy rating on AMD, boosted its price target to 185 from 180. From 185 to 310. Yeah, talk about a boost. It's a street high. We know that they had that recent deal with OpenAI, so they're just, going gangbusters. Got to talk about the big banks continuing to report earnings. B of A up about 4.5% in today's session. And then you had Morgan Stanley up about 4.7%. B of A beating third quarter earnings. Investment banking activity increased. A long-awaited comeback in M&A. We've been talking about this a lot. And then Morgan Stanley, their stock traders topping rivals on the surge in trading activity, and the CEO also saying he might slightly up the pace of buybacks. And one more, Papa John's.
Oh, pizza.
Had to do it. Up more than 9% here. Highest intraday since June. Reuters reporting that Apollo Global submitted a bid within the last week to take the pizza chain operator private at 64, a share, stock closing at 53.
Is it good? I'm not expecting it to be like a great local place, but I mean, compared to Domino's and Pizza the Hut, does anybody have experience with Papa John's?
It's been a while since I've ordered one, but it would be my preference.
It's no Sally's in New Haven. It's no Raza in Jersey City.
Wow.
I'm just going to put that out there.
Go far afield for those.
I shop there or go there.
All the way to Sally's.
Yeah.
You should go to Rubino's in Bexley, Ohio. It's the best pizza in the entire country.
Yeah, says the dude from Ohio.
Let me do some decliners. I'm very curious if those gainers were in line with what Matt was expecting, but my decliners, the first one, get in the zone, AutoZone.
Whoa.
Investors squarely did not do that today, as we saw sizable losses there in that stock. And I think it has to do with a couple of things. The first having to do, of course, with the implosion of that First Brands group, and this company obviously has better credit than that company did before the bankruptcy. But I think it's a tariff story as well. This kind of roiling concern about whether an auto parts retailer is going to be able to get what it needs to get and not have to raise prices as much as I think many consumers fear it might. See that stock sagging today. The two other ones I wanted to flag kind of go together. They complement one another. It's Northrop Grumman and Lockheed Martin, these two big defense contractors. Such an interesting moment here for these defense contractors in light of the cessation of fighting that we saw in the Middle East. And I think also you have Ukraine coming to Washington. The president of Ukraine going to meet with President Trump tomorrow to talk about their desire to get more American weaponry. We'll see what kind of manifests itself from that going forward.
All right, we're looking at some earnings crossing now from J.B. Hunt. The trucker says third quarter EPS was much better than expected by 30 cents, $1.76. We were only looking for $1.46. Revenue looks like they had $3.05 billion in total revenue in the quarter. That's better than the $3.02 billion we were looking for. And they break it down to intermodal revenue, $1.52 billion, dedicated revenue, $864 million. So J.B. Hunt handily beating earnings expectations, certainly on the bottom line.
Yeah, you can see shares flying right now, up about 8%. This is a company that needed some good news. Shares down about 18% on a total return basis through today's close. But let's take a look at what is going on in the bond market. And it's a relative snooze, I would say. I mean, when it comes to the 10-year yield, we couldn't quite get to 4%. Not too much action in yields. I don't know if we'll show them, but I hope they do. But overall, there we go. You can see that the long end, maybe you could frame that as a gain, but overall, just some slight losses here on the Treasury market.
All right. Did I mention the Olympics to you?
Yes.
To Carol. I know I went into the radio studio earlier and talked about this a little bit with Carol.
Oh, good.
And David Gura, because I love the idea of.
Were you on air? Or
no, it was during a commercial.
We could have been.
During a commercial break. But I love the idea of these, these big cities bid on the Olympics, and all the naysayers are like, they always lose money, which for the most part is true. But LA is always held up as, the model of profitability for the Olympics, because they had an Olympics back, I think in the 80s, was it 1984?
That's right.
And they actually did well because they didn't plow a ton of money into new infrastructure, new stadiums, new facilities. They reused, and Carol, you're going to love this because the circular economy, they reused all of the stuff they had. For example, a stadium that was there since 1930.
Which is great.
And they ended up not losing a ton of money.
Yeah.
But that was then. This is now. They're prepping a $1 billion bond for their convention center ahead of the 2028 Olympics. I have to say, I'm psyched. Also, maybe this will be good for the muni market as well. But look at that.
A whole billion. Wow.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
aggressive.
As you can see, the sign says a new era for Los Angeles.
I always think it's sad you go to a city that, where they hosted the Olympics and it's just like empty buildings.
Is that Montreal? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, I was thinking
okay.
up even like Lake Placid.
Oh,
A little quiet. Although there's some stuff.
You go to Lake Placid?
Yeah.
For the pizza.
Did you ever go to the Mirror Lake Inn? No, listen, if you have not
I've been to the Mirror Lake. I've been there.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so but it's kind of quiet.
Yeah.
Down the luge.
Skate around the lake.
Yeah.
All right.
But listen, if you have not been to Sally's in New Haven, you should go. All right, I got to wrap because Finley's going to yell at me.
Rubino's.
No.
Rubino's
No.
in Bexley. It's right
Sally's.
down the
Road
street
trip.
from
All
right.
Grader's Ice Cream.
That's a
Delicious.
wrap.
Oh, that is
Gotta
good.
go.
That is
Gotta
good.
go.